Good morning. This is video number 1. Today is January 8th, 2025, and this is the Broken Wing Widows podcast. I have to make a correction from the first video, which was the introduction, where twice I said my husband died in 2002, and that's wrong. He died in 2022, but this leads into the topic for the day, which is the effects of sudden shock on cognition. Widow brain. A person said to me rightly that sooner or later, barring some unforeseen cataclysm like an accident where both people are in the car together or something like this happens, God forbid, most people in the world will become a widow at some point or another. Either you'll become a widow or your spouse will become a widow, because people rarely go together. So this is a thing that's going to affect everyone sooner or later. So now, as far as good old AI and Google together, well, this is you could search this yourself and the same stuff would come up. These are the key points about the effects of sudden shock on cognition. Memory disruption. So, I knew he died in 2022, but I'd said twice. I said 2002. Wrong. A sudden shock can lead to retrograde amnesia. Retrograde amnesia, where an individual struggles to recall events that happened immediately before the shock due to the disruption of memory consolidation processes. So you can't trust your memory. Attention difficulties, you can't focus. I've had a lot of trouble focusing since Terry died, really a lot of trouble. And, I have a friend who says that I have ADD, which I don't think I do, because I got through college and grad school without any trouble, and high school and everything. But I don't know, maybe I do. I do tend to be like Elspeth, where I see something and I go, "Whoa, what's this?" My husband and I used to say it's a squirrel. Going along on a path and all of a sudden, "Oh, what's that?" It's a squirrel. Is that a squirrel? So the squirrel thing is sort of an attention joke about the attention problems. It's really not funny. This is the reason I didn't go back to work. I just felt I couldn't deal with students. I'm a teacher. I couldn't deal with everything you need to do with students and have this brain until it gets better, if it ever does. I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out. Decision. This is the crucial thing about the main theme of this podcast, which is people who took advantage of me and take advantage of other widows. That's the main theme. Decision-making impairments. Oh, Lordy mama. That's for darn sure. Under shock, individuals may make impulsive or poor decisions due to the heightened emotional state. Wow. Prioritizing immediate safety over careful consideration. Exactement. All right, so that hits the nail right on the head, okay? Making immediate impulsive decisions due to the heightened emotional state. And that's really the burden of this podcast. That's exactly what I want to talk about. The things that we do and agree to, which we should never agree to when you are in this grieving period. Now, for me, it's been 2.5 years, something like this, but it's almost, wait a minute. This June will be 3 years, I think. 2002. Yeah. But it's not enough time. I mean, I don't know when enough time is enough. I'm not sure what that parameter is. But anyhow, what I wanted to talk about today, excuse me, it's too dry in here. It's winter time. What I wanted to discuss today's topic was the brain, the problems with the brain, and the problem with this thing that happens with widows. When people see a widow, first of all, they think wealthy. Oh, it's that wonderful alliteration. Alliteration has to be the most pernicious rhetorical trope that exists, because people hear alliteration, they automatically believe whatever it is, which is not necessarily true. And people hear alliteration and something happens to their brains, even a healthy brain, and they think, oh, that must be true because it's alliteration. Wealthy widow. Not true. It's not true. Most of the time, it's not true. I'm on a fixed income. I'm under the median. Another podcast that I like a lot, Under the Median. No, they didn't pay me for this. I just like them. So that's the thing. Your brain is not working right. And so what happens is people can convince you of things that you shouldn't agree to. A bunch of things happened to me that I should never have agreed to, and I'm paying the price now because I wound up signing on those little iPads contracts to get a new electrical panel put in, which I did not need. And the guy installing it knew I didn't need it because he said something to himself that I should have listened to at the time. But of course, fear takes over. Fear is the wedge. If somebody can make you afraid that your house is going to be overrun with sewage, or your electrical panel is going to cause the house to burn down, or the mice have taken over your attic and you need to spend $10,000 on new insulation. P.S. Nobody needs to spend $10,000 on new insulation, okay? So these are all precursors of the videos that are coming down the pike. But for today, it really is about widow brain. And one of the things that makes it really bad is fear. And if they can instill fear, that's the wedge. That's the wedge that's how they get in. That's the wedge. Fear is the wedge, right? And that's how they get into your bank account. And they have done this several times. This has happened to me. And now I'm trying to recoup, but it's not that easy. But I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it by myself too. Anyway, so the other thing that I want to talk about today is the biblical mentions of widows. And I was thinking this morning, it does mention widows a lot. And according to my little quick Google search, AI is doing everything now. The Bible mentions widows at least 80 times, at least 80 times. The Quran and the Sunnah also mention widows. I don't have a number for them, but it's a lot. The Old Testament talks about widows a whole lot. And one of the quotations that I pulled out was from Exodus chapter 22, verse 22 to 24. And this is what it says. This is from the Old Testament. Do not take advantage of the widow or the fatherless. If you do, and they cry out to me, this is God talking. If you do, and they cry out to me, I will certainly hear their cry. My anger will be aroused. Did you hear that, Jeremy and Paul? My anger will be aroused, and I will kill you with the sword. And then your wives will become widows, and your children fatherless. Now, because people can be slow on the uptake, including me at times, something occurred to me this morning that hadn't occurred to me before, which is kind of obvious now that I think about it. Why would the Bible mention widows that many times? Why? These texts, whether it's the Old Testament or the New Testament or the Quran or the Rig Vedas or whatever, they don't mention something unless there's a need to mention it. So the fact that there's this strong, strong emphasis on widows and treatment of widows in the Old and the New Testament, that's because people were already taking advantage of them. Stomp on the wing of the broken bird, which I find so pernicious and so evil, truly evil. And that's the topic for today, which I'm winding up because I don't want this to go past too long. Topic for today is widow brain and what the things you can wind up doing when you have widow brain. You have to be very, very careful. If you are a recent widow, I beg you, I plead with you, do not sign anything. Do not sign on these little iPads and people come in your house and saying, we can fix your electrical panel before your house burns down, which was never going to happen. There was nothing wrong with the electrical panel at all. Do not sign on these iPads. Do not sign any contracts. Do not sign anything until you confer with 3 knowledgeable people who are trusted friends of yours, not the people that come to your house trying to help you. Oh, they helped me all right. $18,000 in debt because of these people who signed me up on contracts I didn't need. I beg you, do not sign anything. Do not agree to anything until you confer with 3 different people who know something about the subject. And on that happy note, I will leave you with a mention of the butterfly effect, that the mystics all say the same thing. The physicists and the scientists are saying the same thing, that all of life, all of creation is like a spider web. If you pull on one string here, that's not the only thing it's not just that string that's going to move. All the other strings are going to move because it's a web. This is what creation consists of. We're all, like New York Telephone, if you remember, we're all connected. And so you can't hurt me without hurting yourself. So the golden rule is really a statement of self-protection. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, because if you do something to somebody else, you are doing it to yourself. And what the Bible says, Exodus says, if you oppress the widows and the orphans, my anger, this is God talking, my anger will be aroused and I will kill you with the sword and make your wife a widow. So that's the warning. So be especially careful out there, folks. Don't sign anything. And see you soon. Peace out.